called gganimate. It's a really cool package that is super useful to show data over a period of time. So it's going to show time lapse in your graphs. This is super useful for time series data. You wouldn't really want to use it for static data or for like a snapshot in time. It's more for things like showing population change over time and stuff like that. So you can see your plot actually move through the periods of time that you want to show. So I hope you find this video useful.
Multiple installations are required to load the gganimate. This is accomplished using the install packages function. So the 5 different packages that you need to load are the gapminder dataset. This contains the time series data that we're going to be using. Then the gganimate, which is the package that we're focusing on. And the remaining 3 are the gifski renderer, and the PNG package. So gganimate is dependent on these to load the data. These load the GIFs and display the animations.
We can start to look at our data set. So we're going to first have to call library to get gapminder. All right, and let's take a look to see what's in gapminder. Oops, let's try that again. There we go. All right, so there are 6 variables. The first being country, the next one's continent, year, life expectancy, population, and GDP per capita. The main one we're going to focus on is using year because we want to show how to use gganimate for time series data. We can also take a head of the data set to see what it looks like. So this is the first view, and if we want to view the entire, we can do that as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of different values here, a lot of different observations for different countries, continents, over different number of years. And gganimate will help us explore all of these. So what's really nice about gganimate is that it follows the same syntax style as ggplot. So let's start from a basic plot and go from there. So here is a plot of the population as time continues on. So we can see that at each vertical line is a different year, and that continues on. So it's kind of hard to see what's going on here. So let's first group things so we can see how the different countries change as time goes on. All right, then we'll make it a line graph so we can see them connected. All right, so that's still kind of hard to see. So let's do color equal to country, and to make sure that everything is visible, we're going to do show.legend equal to false. All right, so each color is a different country, and still that's kind of hard to see. Then we'll do a facet wrap based on the continent. All right, so that helps us see things a little better. All right, so we can also add a little bit more texture to this by doing show.legend again, making sure it's equal to false. We're doing that for our geom point just so we can see the different spots at each year. Okay, great. Now let's say we want to show how it progresses over time and make it look a little bit more dynamic. So how can we do that? We can do that by doing a transition reveal using year. And just so we can see everything, I'm going to do a shadow. There we go, shadow trail with an alpha equal to 0.3. All right, so that will render And so basically what's going to happen is it's going to dynamically show the graph as time goes on and leaving shadow dots in the past. So thanks to the shadow trail effect, we are able to have a pretty cool graph. So as you can see the dots as they grow, and you can see where they mark at each year marking. And this is a nice way to dynamically show your data over some number of years. So gganimate is really great at being able to show a third variable that in static graphs you're not usually able to represent.
Our packages downloaded, we can now create a subset of the data, which we will call Oceania. This subset will have data that involves Australia and New Zealand. And then with that data, we'll use a ggplot like we use in class to create a scatter plot with the x-axis with having years, and the y has GDP per capita. And then after the ggplot, we'll have the GM point. Then the new feature that we haven't talked about is the transition time, which will make the plot move related to the year. And then we'll have the labels with year, and then the brackets with frame time puts the current year within that time frame. And then the last line of code will be the shadow wake, which is adding this effect of the scatter plot, which will have fade to it.
So we're going to be looking this time at GDP per capita and life expectancy, and we're going to focus on all the countries that are included in the data set, and we're going to go off population size. So again, we're going to make scatter plots using geomepoint, and we're going to change the transparency using alpha, which we learned in class. We're not going to want to show legends for this particular graph, but we're going to use the default scale color using the country colors to make it easy to differentiate between them. We're going to change the scale size, so the smallest is going to be 2, the largest is going to be 12. And then scale x log 10 is just going to make our x-axis show up as log 10 values. And then the last thing that we have learned previously is facet wrap, so we're going to see a different graph for each continent. And then for the gganimate things that we haven't learned before, you're going to want to title your graph using the year, and so the frame time in the curly brackets is going to do the current year that we're looking at over time. And then we're going to do GDP per capita on the x-axis, and on the y-axis we're going to look at life expectancy. And the transition time year is again what's going to make the plot move, and then the ease part of the code is going to make it progress linearly, so it's not going to change speed as it goes through time. It's going to stay at a consistent speed for each year.
Tutorial website. Again, we are using the Gapminder dataset with life expectancy on the y-axis and GDP per capita on the x-axis. The size of the circles are determined by the population. So we've been using the gmPoint function in class. In this code, the show legend equals false. You want to include this because it takes approximately 10 minutes to load when you use true. So for the sake of time, we are doing show legend equals false. So the scale color, scale size, and scale x functions, these are the 3 ggplot commands that assist with aesthetics. So going down to the transition timeline, this was used in previous examples that we've been talking about, and this animates the years on the graphs. So going down to the labs line, the frame time changes the title dynamically up until the current year. And again, the shadow wake provides the fade effect that we see on our graphs. In a different example, we used a larger number, so this makes the fade effect smaller in this example by using wake length equals 0.1.
Of using gganimate with box plots, we're switching over to the MT cars data set that we've used in class. So we set up our aesthetics with our X being cylinders and our Y being MPG. We create our box plot as we've done in the past. And now the different part here is the transition states. So we set it with gear, and then we have a transition length and state length. So these sets help with the transitions. And then we also have an enter fade and an exit shrink. So that basically says that when the box plot initially appears, it enters as a fade, as you can see. And then when the box plot leaves, it goes out as a shrink. And that last line, the ease aesthetic, is a sign in out, and that just changes how it transitions from one piece to the next. So to start off, we're going to do a subset of our original gapminder data. This time, we're going to have it when the continent is equal to Europe. So this is going to be for every European country. So then we do the same ggplot commands as we have done, with our x-axis being year and our y-axis being GDP per capita. And so we're going to color and group by country. Next, we're going to do geoline, and we're going to set show legend to false. As previously stated, when show legend is true, it takes a lot longer for the graph to render and clutters up the screen. So again, transition reveal is the command for gganimate. This is a little different than we had in the past. The transition reveal is how we have the lines progressively show as time continues on. So in previous ones, we saw dots moving, but now you can see the graph forming. And there is all the data for the GDP over years for the European countries.
Be super useful for a lot of different kind of graphs, a lot of different plots. It's a really cool thing to work with and to display all these different kinds of animations, and I hope you find this useful in the future analysis of your data.